Well, good morning, everyone. I'm so glad that you were able to join us this morning for our latest webinar about surviving the holidays with your student. My name is Meredith Call, and I am the Assistant Director. Gracious, I'm now creating new titles for myself. I'm the Director for Parent and Family Services. But with me today to come share with you from her own experiences, I have our Assistant Vice President for Student Experience, Dr. Mary Wallace. Dr. Wallace has been here at UAB with us for about 5 months now, almost 6. 5 months, wonderful. And she has joined us she's been in the field of higher education for quite a while. But more importantly, she is a parent of college students. And Dr. Wallace, remind me how many students you have that are or were college students.
I have 3 college students right
So
now.
again, this is my expert on who knows. She knows exactly what's happening and why, and what experiences your students may be getting and experiencing, and then what also the experience looks like from your side. So I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Dr. Wallace to start to share with you some tips and ideas and a little bit about kind of the whole experience from both sides of the family.
All right. Well, good morning. Like Meredith said, my name's Mary Wallace, and I serve as the Assistant Vice President for Student Experience in the Division of Student Affairs at UAB. Now, that's a fancy title, and it takes up way too much space on my business card. But in the most important role in my life, as Meredith said, I'm known as mom, ma, or mother to 5 children, 4 daughters, and 1 son, 3 of whom are in college. 1 is going to graduate in May 2018, my first college graduate. So I'm a testament that as a parent, you can survive college. As a college administrator, I always knew that our college students go through transition, but I never thought deeply about my own transition as a parent, what having a child in college meant for me, until they came home from college. I had acted as if I could carry on as usual, but failed to realize I was entering a new phase as well. The mother of a young adult daughter, one who was growing more and more independent, just as I hoped that she would throughout her whole life. But the thing I didn't realize is how desperately she still needed her mom. But it was she that was now defining when and how she needed me. That was difficult for me, and I can imagine it's been difficult for you as well. But over the years, I've learned that this is a progression into the adult world. And as I've reflected on my own life and my transition into and out of college, I've begun to think more about how my mom must have felt, how my dad had to let go 1,000, 2,000, 1,000,000 times in order for me to learn, to grow, and to become a productive adult. And that's really what we want for our children, right? But it's hard. Nothing quite highlights this transition for parents more than the return to home for the holidays after being in college for the whole semester. So this webinar is for you, for all the moms, the dads, the family members who anxiously await the arrival of their student. I know you must have high expectations for the break. My own 2 daughters and son are coming home for the holidays next Friday, and I've already put together my schedule for them. I know you've made plans as well, set up some schedules, washed your best set of sheets, and these are all good things. This webinar is for you to think about now and in several days when they're several days into their holiday break. If this is the first time for you in this transition, you might feel a little stressed. But my biggest piece of advice to you is this. No worries. You're going to be fine, and so is your student. Now, your relationship might be a little different, and it will be on the trajectory of an adult relationship, which has many benefits for both students and their families. But I want to take you on a little journey. I want you to remember some moments. For example, move-in day. And even if you didn't participate in move-in day, I want you to think about the first moment you knew your child was making a leap into adulthood. How did you feel? What were you thinking? Did your muscles ache? And I mean your physical as well as your emotional muscles. Why was this going on for you, do you think? I think, and from my experience as well, when I dropped my daughter off at college, I think this is a milestone. You saw it as a milestone for both your student and for yourself. And maybe even a few tears were shed on that day, which is why you can see on the left hand side Meredith giving out the parent survival packs at move in day. That was a joy for us to do that for parents here at UAB. It was a moment for us to connect with you and to help you understand it was going to be okay. I want you to remember something else. I want you to remember when you came back to see them on their turf at Family Weekend. If you didn't attend Family Weekend, think about the first time you called them or texted them and saw something through their own eyes. They were able to share with you a glimpse into their world. And you were so excited to see them. Perhaps this was about 6 weeks into the semester, Meredith, about that. And you had fun. The tailgate, the experience of the football game, the academic showcase. How did you feel? What were your thoughts being back on their turf? Did you notice any changes? How had they changed? What were you most impressed with when you met this student for the first time after being in college for about 6 weeks? But now they're coming back home to you. They're going to be on your turf. They've been in charge of their own schedules, their own choice of friends, their own actions, their own inactions for 4 months. And I'm going to tell you that the first time my student came home from college, for her, those 4 months were a lifetime. It's a very short moment in their history, but it's a significant beginning to their adulthood. So I want to share with you one father's experience of his daughter's first holiday break from college. Make sure you've got your mic up.
Yeah, it's 5 days in. My daughter came home from college. I'm really excited to see her. It's been great. Day one was great. It was a work night, and her plane was delayed, so I got in at about 1 in the morning, and then she had the heaviest piece of luggage I've ever felt in my life. It must have been 150 pounds, but and one of the wheels was broken, so I had to carry it across the whole airport and into the parking garage. But it's the Christmas season, and we love to have her. I mean, it's really great to have her home from college. Day two was interesting. She had friends over late night, and about 3 in the morning, they decided to bake cookies and cupcakes and everything else, and it was so cute listening to their voices. I probably slept an hour, and they left everything out. And the next morning I woke up, and even the milk was left out. It was sour. Those rascals. But such nice kids. Great having them home. Day three, she had some other friends over, and they were singing that song, Bye, bye, Miss American Pie. Drove my Chevy to the levee, but the levee was dry. It is very, very catchy, that song. I found myself singing it all night myself. Couldn't go to work today. I was exhausted. Day four, she hasn't brought her luggage upstairs. She's living out of it. It's in the living room. And she has piles of clothes all over her room, so we don't even go to the gym anymore. What we do is we just jump over the piles and pretend they're hurdles. Very good for the quads. Very good for the quads and the calves. Day five, I've actually called the airlines, bus terminals, trains. There's no way to get her back to college. Do you think Uber?
All right. So that's one dad's experience. Certainly, I didn't have anything that poignant when my own daughter came home, but I did see.
Apologies, technology decided to create its own thing there. My apologies on that one. There we go.
All right. But certainly when both Elizabeth and Emma and Eddie came home for the holidays, I noticed that there were some different habits that perhaps they had picked up, and they're 4 months. They're 4 short months, but again, a lifetime for them. And we had to deal with those things. I want to remind you about a few things that happen when students make this leap into adulthood from high school to college. And even as you have students who are transitioning from sophomore year from their first semester of sophomore to their second, or any transition actually. What happens is, of course, they begin to taste a little bit of independence and freedom. They're able to wake themselves up in the morning, for instance, or they're able to decide, if they're going to eat lunch that day, or, how much they're going to spend on dinner, if they're going to skip classes or go to class. All of these things factor into some of the new things they're doing in this transitional phase. For some of them, they're paying some bills, or at least having some sense of financial understanding for the first time. Many of them, all of them, are meeting new friends who have different backgrounds, so they're learning so much about other people. Many of them have new opportunities. Perhaps they're working on campus, working a little bit off campus. Maybe they've joined a student organization. Maybe this is the first time they've been able to go to college football games. Those are new experiences for them. And maybe they're even toying with a new major. So these are some of the transitions that they're thinking about as this new independent moving into adulthood. And even in the second year and above, of course, they've been making lots of adult decisions. They've begun to set some solid schedules and boundaries with their time. They're beginning to choose for themselves what they want to do with their time. And they're also defining for themselves how they want to spend the holidays and the break. And I want to share with you a little story about my own experience as a college student. And now that I'm a mother, I think back on it and really wish that I could talk to my mom now. My mom has been gone for several years now, but really wish I could talk to her about this experience, because I probably broke her heart a little bit. When I was a sophomore in college, I had, like this slide said, I had begun to make lots of decisions for myself, had these solid schedules, had clear goals of what I wanted to accomplish. And one of the things I wanted to do was to see the world, and I wanted to understand what other places looked like. And so I made a decision to go home with my roommate for Christmas. And I did not spend it that year with my family. And when I look back on that time, I realized how distraught my family was. But at the moment, my goals were pretty clear to myself about what I was trying to accomplish. And so those are sometimes things that happen. Students begin to make these decisions. And as parents, we have to think about those things. Even now, my 2 daughters who are coming in on the 22nd, they could potentially come home now, but they've chosen to go to New York with my mother-in-law to just experience New York. And so I know those things are hard. Those are things that take some getting used to, for sure. But like I said in that first slide about being stressed, you're going to survive this. It's going to be fun. So I want to give a few tips and suggestions in light of the things that may go on when they come home for the break. My very first suggestion is to keep it light. And let me tell you what I mean by that. There may be a tendency, and I have this same tendency, to solve these family issues that perhaps happen during those 4 months, or you want to catch up in very critical ways. And I had a friend who there's been something that I've really needed to talk to my daughter about, and I was like, I'm going to use the break as a time to do that. And my friend said to me, "Keep it light, Mary." And I said, "Well, whatever do you mean by that? I need to talk to her about this." And she's the one, she's not a higher ed professional. She's had her own daughters in college, so she understood what I was trying to do. She said, "Remember, she's coming home after having taken finals with all this adjustment with her schedule. You just moved, so it's kind of a different thing for her. Keep it light." And so when she came home for Thanksgiving, I was able to do that. And it was a very pleasant break by just making that critical decision to keep it light. Now, we still need to talk about the things we need to talk about, but I'm working up strategies on how we do that, but also keep it light during the holidays. I would also suggest to let them lead some discussions. After all, that's the stuff that college teaches you to do. So your students have been sitting in classrooms where they are encouraged and even graded on leading discussions. And so this is a new skill for them. And allowing them to practice that a little bit is also something that will help in the transition from being a high school student with parents to being a college student with parents and families. So letting them lead those discussions, letting them discourse with you and dialogue, those are important things. Ask about their new friends, their new opportunities, their new major, the new things going on in their lives. Don't be surprised, though, if you get those patented answers of, it's fine, it's good, it's okay, I have new friends from all over, the short little answers. Remembering that they're tired, they've taken finals, they've had a lot of transition, and so they might not be ready to have those full conversations, but they'll loosen up through the holiday period. Help to reestablish some boundaries. For example, I have a schedule set for when my kids come in, but they haven't necessarily had a stake in that schedule. And so one of the things as I was doing this presentation, I was like, I'm going to take my own advice. So one of the first things I want to do when they come in is to hear from them, what are the important things that they want to do? And also mention what my non-negotiables are. So for example, if we're going to my in-laws for the holidays, they need to come. They haven't seen their grandparents either. And so making sure that we have those things on the schedules, but as things are flexible, being able to allow them to determine some of that schedule as well. Curfews. So this was a big thing in my house when I came home from college, that old adage of, you live under my roof, you go by my rules. It's just good to remember, though, that in their current transition, they've been in control of their time for about 4 months. And so what's reasonable? One of the things that I think that's important to think about as parents, and I think about this as well, is that for 4 months, I've not even known when they've gone out for 2:00 pizza, right? And so, but I've not also worried about that. When they're home, what I'm worried about is, where are they? Are they safe? Do they need anything? So one of the things that I do with my daughters is that they would call and let me know where they're at and what time they'll be home. That way, I'm left with a little less worry in terms of where they're at, because they're going to want to see their friends and they're going to want to see family, and they're going to want to do that in a way that they've been doing for the last 4 months. But being home, they also have some boundaries, and you're able to help set that with them together. I would say to expect a lot of change. Again, 4 months for us, that's a very short time, but for them, that's a lot of development that's happened in that short time frame. And so engage them in conversation to learn about who are they in this new adult world. My experience is that they may have changed, but the core of who they are, their personality, the person you expect to see, that person is still there. It's just they're in an adult world now. I always say fix their favorites. The cafeteria food here is very good. I'm going to say that I eat, and Meredith, I think, has done this too, $5 Fridays in the cafeteria. It's delicious. But it's not home. And they have favorites, and perhaps you don't get to see them quite a bit. And so my experience is they have wanted to feel special during this time. And so I try to do that. For us, it's lasagna, Cajun dishes, because I'm from Louisiana, and trying to make sure that they feel special. The other big tip that I have is to let them sleep for sure. They have just finished finals, and they're exhausted. I can tell you just from seeing your students right now, they are jam-packed in the libraries. They're in Hill Student Center studying. They are taking this week very, very seriously. Last week as well, we could see it with the final projects due, papers, tests coming up. We could see the stress that is very normal during final exam time. And the fatigue, which is normal in a college student. We understand that that's what happens. And so we want to make sure that as parents, we allow them to sleep it off. They've really been on the grindstone. And I will tell you that as a UAB administrator, I'm so proud of your students right now. And I hope that that's what my student was doing at their respective universities as well. And that there were administrators who were monitoring that as well to understand, were our students stressed? How could we help? Could we ease some of that burden? I will tell you that last week we had a de-stress week through the Office of Student Involvement and Leadership. Lots of students participated in that as we helped them to make that load a little lighter, to include a few little activities that were not time intensive, like making their own coffee cup and their own street sign. So we do fun things like that. But staff were around and on hand to make sure that your students had resources, had access to any resource that they would need so they could definitely get through finals. I'd like to say that I've been perfect in this transition. I would love to say that. But even as a college administrator, knowing what your student's going through, knowing what my student was going through, there were mistakes made. I wanted to hover a little bit too much. And there were times where there were tense moments during the holidays. But I think as you think about it and you get into a place where you're thinking about the holidays and the return of your student and thinking about a few of the things, even if you take one of these tips, letting them get sleep or being real flexible with your schedule, I think you'll see some success for sure in terms of that transition. We want them back in the spring semester. We want them ready to go. And I know that's your goal as well. Your goal, as my goal has been, as any parent and family's goal has been for a college student, is to see them matriculate to graduation. And it's going to be beautiful to watch them cross that stage at graduation in their green gown, getting that diploma. It's going to feel... well, I don't know how it's going to feel. I'll know that in May of 2018 when Elizabeth walks across that stage. But I think what it's going to feel like is well worth it, well worth sacrifices that we've made as parents, knowing also that our students are also making sacrifices as they obtain their degrees. And then, of course, our biggest thing would be for them to be employed. After that, or to go on to graduate professional school. And I know you're one proud parent. As you can see here at move-in day, this mom, grandma, family member is so proud of her son. And we want to make sure that we help get your student there, but we want to be there for you as well. That's why Parent Family Services exists at UAB. That's why Meredith is our very first director, and that she's been communicating with you about the things going on campus with your student, as well as opportunities that they can take advantage of. And we are always happy to have you back. Family weekend for us this year was incredible. We had we had a great time with our parents and families with their students, and you could tell sometimes, and that was about the 6-week mark, we had students with parents, and then you would see parents by themselves at the family tailgate while their student went off with their friends. That's part of the transition. So you've glimpsed a little bit into the transition for parents already, and you're in that moment too. I just want to encourage you and be there for you as a parent myself, and take any advice you have as well for how we survive this together. I want to put this screen up here. This is a great screen for you to screenshot if you need to. A big thank you for all of you who are attending today, this webinar. Also for any who are going to download it, watch it later. Meredith Call, who introduced me as our Director of Parent and Family Services. This is the contact information currently for Parent Family Services. We do have a move planned in the spring semester where Meredith will get to have a little bit more space, so that'll be good. But certainly you can email at families@uab.edu or call this phone number, 205-975-0684, and we will be able to help you in any way we can, or find the folks who can help with anything. So I'm going to leave the last word with Meredith, and then I'll take some questions.
Well, and I want to just add a couple of things to what Dr. Wallace was saying, mostly because I've gotten a couple of unique opportunities. One is obviously I've been chatting with our various family members for the past year and a half, so and beyond. I've been working with family members for quite a while, so I've definitely heard challenges that they've had when their students returned. But then the other side is I've also been working with a group of first-year students and teaching a first-year class this semester, and so it has been a lot of fun to watch these students transition and grow and really settle into this independent side of things. So there's a couple of things just kind of to add. One is I would say, as Dr. Wallace was mentioning, there's definitely that element of sleep that they're coming home and they are exhausted. They've also had a very, very different sleep schedule since they've been in college for the most part than what they potentially had when they were home. So shifting that, it was common to stay up late in the residence halls and take a nap. And naps in college, it's essentially like you've sent your student in that regard back to preschool or kindergarten. Naps in college are just the greatest thing ever. And so if you see them doing that while they're home, again, that's fairly normal from what the lifestyle that they've kind of set up currently. It's a normal transition and occurrence because they stay up late studying or it's spending that time with their friends and getting the pizza. So that's just something to keep in mind. The other thing is their grades will be coming out starting next week. For some students, this may be a real shock as far as how they did. I'm very hopeful and excited because we've got some brilliant students, but some of our students are going to have been in a class that's a lot more challenging than they originally anticipated. And they may not have had a real understanding of how they were doing in the class because the classroom, there maybe have only been one or two tests and the last final exam is a heavy weighted final. And so it may not all go as perfectly planned as they want. So I would also encourage you to not immediately ask your student, how are your grades? What are you thinking? They may need a little bit of time to potentially process that themselves before immediately revealing and sharing that with you as a family member. I will give my mother the greatest credit in the world that she always would let me. I always showed her my grades. I shared everything that I ever did, but she would let me kind of present those as I got, once it settled, and like the B that I got in the class that I thought I was guaranteed an A and had fully settled and I had accepted it. But then also be there to support your student if it doesn't go well, that it's not the end of everything, that there is plenty of opportunities for them to increase and get their GPA back up. Or if they need to, there are other options here that we want to make sure that they are successful and that there are a ton of resources on this campus. And so now that they know what the semester is like or what it's like to be in college, how do you make a plan of action to move forward? So I just want to kind of share that thought with you as well. So we have plenty of time if you have any questions or anything that we can help answer. On the widget that comes up with the GoToTraining, the webinar information, there is a chat function. It's at the very bottom component of the toolbar that you see. That is the best way for you to share any questions that you have. Please, though, do be aware, I don't want to share any information related to your students that would be identifying information. So please don't share their first names are fine, but anything related to a student ID information or email addresses, anything like that could potentially identify you or your student. So if there's anything that I can help to answer, that myself or Dr. Wallace can help to answer, this is your opportunity to ask. Otherwise, you obviously have our contact information, and we are here for you at any point in time.
Now, I want to add on to what Meredith is saying because, you know, I used to do an orientation presentation, Meredith. I don't know if you know this about me. I used to do an orientation presentation for families at parent-family orientation at another university. And I would say probably for the first 10 years that I did that presentation, it was very disconnected from who I was until the day I had to sit in that audience as a parent. And so from that point, I would say, I want you to understand, I am a college administrator with this fancy title, but I'm a mom who sat through an orientation at a university I worked at and took about 20 pages of notes. And then when we made the transition, as she was a first semester college student, and I started to see how she was changing and growing, I had to remind myself that that was part of the transition to adulthood. So it's really not just a transition to college. It's a transition into a new period in their lives. And so I think it's fun. Now I think it's fun. I didn't think it was so fun to begin with. But the time period where they come home for break is just, so they've been in this for 4 months. They're coming home to you at probably the most stressed that they've been in the whole semester. And that is a normal college thing. Finals week is meant to be difficult because they're having to show what they've learned over these 4 months. And it's a lot. They've learned quite a bit. So I just want to make sure that the things that you're hearing from us, it's not that this is not normal. It's all normal stuff. Yes. And how you feel about this, how you feel about this transition, how you might even look at some of these tips and go, that's against my human nature. That's normal too. That's quite normal. In fact, I had to really want to take some advice from my friend because I was going to have this big old conversation with Elizabeth when she came home for Thanksgiving. I'm glad I didn't, but my human nature was, we're going to hash this out, And so, we just want to make sure that we hear you.
The first page of suggestions. There was a quick question about going. So there was a request to go back and show the first page of suggestions on the screen. So I'm going to go ahead and move off the contact page and back up just so that everyone can see it. The fastest way is to get through it this way. That's the first one right there. Correct was keep it light. There it is. So there you are. That should hopefully help you keep these notes and things in right way to remind yourself. And
you're welcome. Bye.
Is there other things that we can help answer or share with anyone, or other things that you need to know about as we wrap up the semester and your students, if they're starting to move home, if they're living in the residence halls? And by move home, I just mean come home. Please don't think that your student needs to pack up and move out of the residence hall. We are here, and so it's fine. But if there's other things that we can answer, that is exactly why we're here. Again, if not, that please know that the Office of Parent and Family Services is here for you at any point in time. Please feel free to contact and share with us anything that we can, or any questions that you may have, especially as you start to get new information as your student comes home.
Does anybody want to share one thing they're looking forward to as their student comes home for the break?
Okay. Well, I think that I know it is a crazy time of year about. Oh, good, Barry. I'm very glad to hear that you learned some different things, and that I'm hoping, I know all of you are super excited for your student to be coming home. if as they come home and questions or concerns pop up, please know that again we are here to answer anything that we can, and that we're here to help in any way that we really can, and help you and your students and getting everybody successful, because that is our ultimate goal. Oh, Tanya, I'm so excited to see that she hasn't seen her daughter since August. So yes, she is definitely going to have some serious stories to share with you. That's exciting. Oh, you.
And I think, you know, we could probably design a whole different webinar about out-of-state students coming home for the holidays. So, Tanya, you might have to share some good stories with us after the holiday and the break, so that we can make sure that our out-of-state parents feel connected to UAB as well as to their students' transition.
I know your daughter is going to be super excited to be coming home as well. So don't be surprised if she's done something fun like color her hair, new color, or things along those lines too. It's less surprising anymore now that there's FaceTime and other options. But that's really exciting, and I hope that you all have a wonderful holiday, and that there's nothing but fun and excitement for you all moving forward for the next few weeks, until you have to then send them back off to start up the spring semester, which will be a great semester as well.
Yeah. And we're excited. Please join us, I think I forget what channel it is. Is it SEC? Not SEC.
For the football game. The football game, yes. I will find that out.
December 22nd at 11:30 Central Standard Time. UAB Blazers will be playing the University of Ohio
University, yeah. And I'm forgetting their mascot now.
I'm forgetting their mascot as well. So they'll be in the Bahamas. So our return to football after 2 years of being away. So that's an exciting thing for our students right now as well. They're excited about that.
They are. And there's actually a good group of students that are going down to the Bahamas. I don't know if they're more excited about football or the Bahamas or all of the above.
I think that's a good opportunity as well.
It is. So, well, thank you so much, and have a wonderful rest of the day, everyone. I know it's a busy time of the year, so thank you again for taking some time out of your day, and we look forward to chatting with you all as well. Happy holidays. Carolyn, yes, final stress definitely is real. I hope that she
Carolyn, what did you do as a mom with that? What did you say to her? Yes. That's exactly what I would have said, Carolyn. It's final stress is real, and they want to make sure they still need their families. They just still need their families. And, I imagine you'll get a lot of stories and a lot of heartache and a lot of joy, too, what they've done very well. And like Meredith said, remembering those grades are going to roll in, and it's going to, for some, it'll be hard. For some, they might do better than they did in high school. And for others, it'll be about the same. So we know that. We know there's a continuum on that on the grades. But make sure to encourage them, and, they can do it. I never thought I'd have my daughter graduating college in May of 2018. And I'll tell you, it's been a struggle at times for her. She is so happy. And to see that pride and that confidence now in a student that when we sent her off to college, it was not that same way. I'm so excited for her. She'll be 22 years old when she graduates. And I think about it now, she is an adult, she's made it. She's opening up her adult world. So, but it's not been the smoothest road for sure. So I get that, Carolyn. I would have said yes. I would have washed sheets. I would have thrown out the chocolate.
We did fail to mention that if they have, especially, so Tanya, be prepared that your daughter may bring home, while you haven't seen her in forever, she may bring home about 10 pounds worth of laundry, if not more than that.
I'm going to tell you, and probably you guys can, I don't know, maybe you can't. The experience I had is when Emma, my second daughter, who went away for college, she brought home every piece of clothing that she brought to college. It was all dirty. And when she came to the door, walking in the door, and I saw this mound of laundry. I started crying and I said, I will do your laundry. Just bring it here. I was so happy to do her laundry. I hate doing laundry. Oh, whoa, Pari, that's awesome.
I don't know what you did, but you clearly did something really well if he's able to do that. So that's amazing. Congrats on your win there for that one. I'm impressed. I definitely did not.
Even the shoes.
I'm super impressed. I still, to this day, if I can convince my father whenever I'm home for the holidays and he's shining shoes, if I can slide a pair in with him, I definitely do. So, mostly because I never learned. But, well, everyone, this has been a lot of fun. I'm very excited for you all to see your students. I'm very excited for our students to finish out their first semester. I think that they have had a really good time and and have learned a lot, both in the classroom and outside of it, whether they're living on campus or not, whether they're from Alabama or out of state. I think it's been excuse us for that, apparently technology is ready to go for us today. But I think that they have just had amazing experiences, and I know that they are looking forward to being able to share that with you. And as Dr. Wallace said, and I really want to reiterate this, they still definitely need you. They need you for the excitement and the support and the love, and because you're family and you're home, and what everything that means. So enjoy that time with your family.
Yep.
Enjoy that time and have a wonderful holiday. And we will chat with you whenever you need, and we will see your students back here in the spring semester.
Absolutely. Go Blazers.
Go Blazers. So have a great one, everyone.